Welcome back. We have Patrick Davey joining us from WorkSafeBC on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we're talking about Avalanche right now, Avalanche Concerns. I know that when it's warmer out than it should be, which is now, we're expecting more snow on the weekend. These are bad conditions for Avalanche in that when it warms up, that makes the snowpack very fragile.
Absolutely. And you know, here in Kamloops, we only tend to think of Avalanche until we see the first snow. But in some areas in BC, there's the risk of avalanche all year round. Over the last couple of months, of course, we've heard of numerous issues, accidents, some of them fatal, with recreational users of backcountry. So this could be snowmobilers, a lot of just walking back there. So we know there's a high risk of avalanches back there right now. In fact, Avalanche Canada, one of the main sources of information, has issued a special bulletin about the BC Interior's backcountry. And it says that really right now there's a high risk of human-caused and just natural avalanches right now. So what we're talking about today really is, so we have workers back there too. So we really need to look at them and where they are and what precautions they're taking.
Have there been a lot of workers on the job that have died in avalanche? I know a lot of recreational enthusiasts will go out at their own, you know, on their own will.
Risk, yeah.
Yeah, at their own risk. But when it comes to workers, that's a different story as well.
So with recreational users, typically on average, there's 10 people that die in BC because of avalanches. This is recreational. Workers, when we look at the last 20 years, there's been 3 fatals for workers involved with avalanches and over 52 accidents that have been recorded. I've read a lot of these. Some of these have been, people have been involved in going down the hill for hundreds of feet. And while most of the workers that have been injured have been in the ski hill and winter lodging industries, the second amount really is in the what we call the prime resources industries, kind of like oil and gas.
Okay.
And one of the industries we have a lot of around here, forestry.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
How do we know when an avalanche might occur? I mean, obviously the conditions, but when you're out in the backcountry, can you assess where you are and sort of know? Pretty tough.
You know, only trained professionals in forecasting can do that. But even identifying when avalanche season starts and ends is tough. According to Avalanche Canada, the deadliest month for snowmobilers out in the backcountry avalanches is March. So really things can change daily, even by the hour. And because of certain characteristics, snow depth, terrain, weather conditions, it's hard to tell. But Avalanche Canada also has a daily report that can give you, really update you on the avalanche hazards in specific areas.
When you consider the fact there is a call in our region anyways for a 60% chance of flurries into our Friday, Saturday, perhaps tapering on Sunday, and then Environment Canada is calling for 9 degrees on Monday, Patrick. So really, that's not good. So
we start having these different layers, and they don't always compact and stay together. We have warming, freezing, could be human caused. All of a sudden, one slips off, and you start of an avalanche.
Right. We have some visuals. Where did I get these from? Off YouTube. We're going to go to them right now. Canadian Rockies Highway Avalanche Control. And, you know, even in controlled avalanche, where they do it purposely to try to diminish the threat, I was watching online, some of those even go sideways a little bit.
So when you go towards Revelstoke through Three Valley Gap, every year you're looking at controlled blasting. They've got everybody out of the area, and it's trying to minimize the hazard.
Yes, and there's no outrunning this. You can see how, like, that's going so fast.
You know, some of them are 200 miles plus.
Yeah, and that looks like that might be one of them. It's a ridiculous speed. Crazy. What else can you tell us? What are the steps that employers should be taking for workers that are in the backcountry?
So by regulation, the employers are required to ensure safe workplaces. So when we talk about avalanches, it's about minimizing the workers' exposure to the avalanche hazard. So if you've identified hazards, avalanche hazards in the area, really you need to implement controls. And one of them could be safety program, safety plans. Now workers' responsibilities are to follow your employer's policies and work procedures. And also if you see something unsafe, to tell your supervisor. Now there are 4 tiers we look at when we talk about hazard control management. So when we talk about avalanches and controlling, the 4 tiers really, the first one, administrative controls. Take a look at what just happened there. Administrative controls is work procedures. If you had a hazard like that, scheduling would be, do you need to go in that area this week? Can we arrange to go someplace else? That's the work scheduling. Procedural control, again, it goes back to the plan or the safety program, which could include specialized training, tools, and work procedures. Avalanche control, we just saw an example of that, and that's under controlled conditions, knowing where those specific avalanche hazards are and using explosives. And finally, we look at engineering controls, and we've all seen them. If you've ever driven from Kamloops to Calgary or even on the coast down to Vancouver, you've seen them. You've seen the barriers, the avalanche barriers. You've seen the structures, snow shed. So they're all out there around us right now. So there are different ways of controlling it.
Okay. We're out of time. I really appreciate you talking about this. It's very timely. And as mentioned, it sounds like the most risky time of the year is yet to come for the season. Right. March, apparently, is the worst time. I'm assuming because of the warm-up of temperatures. That's a big part of that. But we are seeing warming temperatures as we get through the weekend as well. So if you would like to learn more about this topic, you can certainly go to WorkSafeBC.com. We're back after a quick break. Stay with us.